Good evening. Welcome to the Winner's Mindset, a key to success, 7th episode. Today's guest is Veena Paranjpe. Veena comes with overall 20 years experience in sales and customer services in healthcare. She is an alumni of IIM Kolkata. While working in corporate sector, she realized that people are the differentiating factor and hence is passionate about people development through coaching. And that's why she switched to coaching. Her niche is behavioral change and communication skills. She loves to train in origami, as origami helps in building mindfulness and improve spatial visualization. I interacted with Veena around 6 months back when we joined PQ coaching. We had very good interaction along the way. Thank you so much, Veena, for joining us.
Thank you, Vijay. It's a pleasure, to be here today.
So starting with that, Veena, please let us know about your journey, starting from, your career, first step of your career or college day or wherever from where you feel comfortable.
Sure. So, my basic qualification is microbiology. So, something very, very deep and scientific. And then I did my post graduation in life sciences from University Department of Life Sciences, Kalina. And then I began working in a company called High Media Laboratories, which was into bacteriological media. And that was my core subject. And after that, there was a bit of a deviation. I started doing, my honors diploma in systems management from AppTech. I was teaching in a school, teaching the subject of computers. And so I was out of Mumbai for some time, then came back in Mumbai, and then joined Johnson and Johnson, and so joined into sales, and then set up customer service. And that time, customer service was something completely new, and I had no background of customer service. So I went about scouting, learning the ropes, and worked with Johnson and Johnson for almost 14 years, and then moved on to another healthcare company, which was Roche, and worked for about 3 years with Roche. In between, I did my executive program for business management from IIM Calcutta. And in 2017, December, I left my job, and I decided, because, I had this feeling that if I keep on doing this, I'll be just doing this. And if I want to do something different, then I need to break free from
Yes.
existing things. And that is when I got the time and I got into coaching. And like when I look back, I think coaching, I had been exposed to it before because I used to interact with my team members who were also young and, just out of college. And and then that is where I realized that conversations are so important. And coaching is one such conversation which leads to transformation. And if we can make that change in someone, wow, what more can you look for?
Very good. So when we started that PQ coaching,
Hmm.
I think in the first time we interacted with, and someone told me that I contact you for that you can join that. And I think
Yes,
that was the moment that we got.
right.
So
And
how
thanks to you, that as a result, I could do the PQ coaching, else it wouldn't have been possible.
and rather thanks to that friend through which you came in my touch, and of course
Yeah.
we are in touch and we will be. So how your coaching journey is going on?
Um, I have got my ACC from ICF,
Very good.
and so that was the first step. And now I'm taking it on and moving to the next level, which is PCC. And simultaneously, I'm doing my coaching. So I get a few clients, and well, the journey is on.
Maybe the audience may not be aware about ACC and ICF. I'm aware, but
Yeah.
they may not. So
Yes.
please tell us
Yeah.
about that.
So ICF is the International Coaching Federation, and accreditation from ICF is kind of considered a gold standard. So there are various levels towards becoming a coach. The basic is an ACC, which is an associate coach, and so you need to clock some number of hours, and you do give an online test. And ICF is very robust because it talks about sustainable transformation. It talks about it basically says that the client is whole and it is resourceful. And the coach is just a mirror, or a coach is a thinking partner who kind of handholds you through the journey and kind of keeps mirroring back to you your own thoughts so that you see them differently, because there's no way that you can see your thoughts. So that is what a coach does. And a coach helps you to discover the potential that is all within you. Yeah, so that is what this coaching journey has been about.
Very good. Veena, it needs courage, but it takes courage to leave your thriving career and do something new. है ना?
Yes.
I congratulate you for that, and I praise your courage, because it's very difficult to have that courage to venture into something unknown we are not aware about, and while
Yeah.
leaving your thriving career where you are doing so good.
Yes.
But I think we need more and more coaches, so that this world can be made a better place to live.
Yeah, I agree. When I look back at this, it was indeed a very difficult decision, because it was something, it's kind of you're leaving your existing identity
Yes.
and becoming a no one, and setting yourself all over again. But yes, somewhere there was that inner calling, and maybe perhaps that made it easier.
Is there any particular incident or something that motivated you to move into this coaching?
I, I have been listening to conversations, and I happened to listen to a few conversations wherein I felt it is just two people who are talking to each other, and there is so much that happens as a result. So the outcome is wherein the coach and the client sees something which he was not aware of, and all that happens in a mere conversation. So I found this idea very alluring. I said, wow, this is very powerful. And yeah, that is how it got me into this. I said, I need to know more, and I'm still learning. There's a lot of learning yet to happen.
Yes, yes. Maybe around 3 or 4 years back, I was watching a TED program in which Bill Gates has mentioned that everyone needs a coach.
Yes.
Of course, as you were in sales and marketing, you were handling that role of coach actually. Not officially, but
Yes.
indirectly you were doing that. I was the
Right.
head of the institution. I was doing that job because we need to do that. But
Right.
now, because we are officially doing that, so what is the change you can say in that setup and in this setup you can say?
I think the biggest change is change in me as a person. Um, I think I'm a much better person now as compared to what maybe I was 3, 4, or 10 years back. And as a simple skill, if you look at listening, often when you listen, and when you listen to anyone, you immediately start evaluating, you start building response in your mind, and you are ready to jump up as soon as the person. So there was a lot of unlearning to do. This is not listening at all. So listening is wherein not only what is said, but you listen to understand. You listen to hear certain things which are unsaid. So this is all a learning process, not being judgmental. Like basically, a coach has to go into the conversation as if I don't know anything. I don't know. And, the fact to be into that space wherein you say, I don't know, is one of the biggest things. So, the ability to have curiosity, not being judgmental. So these are the tenets of a coach. But that so much applies to us as human beings. Like we all could be such better human beings if we can use all this in our day to day, which is difficult, but you can always make an attempt. And I think we get better as a result.
So now you are not a boss. You are not a powerful person. Rather, you are making powerful your coachee.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. So, in your experiences while coaching, how you find your coach is accepting this thing? Actually, in most of the scenario, what I realized that they are expecting us to do some magic.
Oh,
है ना?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
You know what happens? What exactly a coach does is, I don't think is clear to a lot of people. Like they, most of the time, the boundaries between a counselor, a mentor, a trainer, and a coach, they're so blurred. And so then you need to get down to the basics and say, okay, a trainer is someone wherein you have exchange of skills. He knows something, you don't know something, and so there is transfer of knowledge. So that is what a trainer is. A counselor is someone you go to when something needs to be mended, something needs to be done right. That is when you go and see a counselor.
yes,
A mentor is someone who's a subject matter expert, so you look up to him, and so you choose your mentor and so on. And then what's a coach? So people feel that when they come and see a coach, the coach is going to give me a ready solution and I just need to run with it, but that's not what it is. Coach is only going to help, is your thinking partner. Coach is someone like a mirror who's going to throw back the
yes,
thoughts back to you, for you to look at them, say, oh, so is this what I'm thinking about? Is this what I'm saying? Oh, then this is not what. And then that self discovery and things start revealing to your own self. So it's a very fascinating process.
yes, it is.
And so, I've had episodes wherein some of the clients said, okay, so you as a coach, you're not going to tell me what I'm supposed to do. Then what am I here for? So, so yeah, so there are various experiences. And there could be some, I have a few experiences wherein the coaching session was over. And after a week, I get a call back and say, Coach, I now understand why you were asking me that question. So sometimes coaching happens after a coaching
Yes,
conversation. So it
yes,
happens between coaching
yes,
conversations
yes.
also. So yeah, I find these multiple facets very fascinating.
Man, I took coaching from one of the senior coaches, Europe-based coach, and I told him that I'm not getting results. So when we discussed that what you are doing, I mentioned that I'm doing career coaching. To whom? To faculty members and students. And he knew about me that I'm so and so faculty member. I've had those. So he told me, you are not succeeding because you are the expert of that domain and you know everything about that. So you are preoccupied with things, what he needs to do or something like that. He
Yeah,
suggested me do something in which you know nothing about.
right.
And in that field, you will succeed because you will not be preoccupied with things. You will
Yes,
not be judging that person. So you will succeed in that domain. So, yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes it so happens, like you as a coach, when you're very new and still learning the art, you feel as if the onus is on you to make
Yes.
sure that the client has some solution at the end of it. But it is not so. You just have to be there. You just have to be present. You just have to listen and, bounce back all that the client is saying back to him for him to have a look through. Yeah, so empathy is another critical
Yes, that's very
aspect of
important factor.
change.
Your niche is behavioral change, especially.
Yes,
So I think people find it very difficult to change their behavior, especially.
right.
So I think it must be very difficult when you have coached something. So can you share some experience?
Yeah, like there are people, who say I keep procrastinating, and and then and what is the funny part is people are aware. It's not that they are not aware as to why do they procrastinate, why do certain things happen, and then you ask them, okay, but then what is stopping you? What is the hurdle? Well, it is just, and then they come up with something. So, it is more of my self esteem, or I feel insecure. So it actually goes into a very different thing open up. So, as the journey is very interesting. You begin with something, but as you talk and, you kind of, as you peel an onion, so there are layers and layers and layers. So
Yes.
as those layers come off, there could be something very different that comes up. And then when they realize that it is this is just a symptom, there is something which is deeper, which is underlying. And if we as a coach can help them uncover that and discover that, that sense of relief that you can see, because they see certain things within themselves, they understand what is holding them back, that satisfaction is immense.
People transform.
Yes, people transform.
And as you mentioned, they know the answer, but they're not able to
Able to
find it
see
out
it.
on their own. So,
Right.
so we help them to dig deeper and find out the solution themselves
Yeah.
and have them the feeling of empowerment. Yes, I found out the solution. I know the solution
Yes, yes,
instead
because
of
when you
depending on
own
us.
it,
Yes,
you do a better job of it.
yes, yes, yes. And that's make them accountable to us.
Absolutely.
Very good. So, while you were in the corporate sector for so long, and as you mentioned, the scenario is here entirely different. Have you missed that experiences or something like that when you came here? That power or something that were typical in the
Yes,
corporate sector?
yes, yes. Suddenly it was like I was in the midst of a lot of things. And suddenly the whole world goes along. You kind of, it doesn't matter whether you are there or you are not there. And then that brings up a lot of dimensions to you. Like, you typically tend to define yourself with maybe your professional status, or you tend to define yourself because of a relationship, like because you're a mother or a father, or
Yes.
but I think what you need to know is you as a person are much beyond these things. Like,
Yes.
so we should stop defining ourselves with these things. Like, they are some of the facets of your entire existence, but that's not you as a whole. You as a whole, we need to take cognizance that we are much bigger, much beyond this. But you need to discover that. And then for me, exactly, this happened because all these years life was so busy and there were so many things that I wanted to do, but I never had the time. So I used all this time to do that. And one part of that is, becoming a better person. So my journey is still on. And of course, this also gave me time to catch up on my reading. I like to listen to music. um, I like to do origami. So I got this, which I would have otherwise, it would just have been in my head. Oh, yeah, at some point in time, I want to do this, but I don't know when. So, yes, I could use all this time to do that.
Very good. Very good. You just mentioned the origami, so we want to know more about that.
Oh, wow. Origami is a beautiful art. And it is like as paper folds, mind unfolds. So it's all about paper folding. And as you fold the paper and as you do those various steps, mindfulness is something which is very critical, because one wrong fold and your outcome is not going to be the way you want it to be. So you have to be mindful how you crease it, whether you give it a deep fold or whether it's an unfoldable fold. That is one. Second is origami helps you to build spatial visualization. What kind of space, how much. Beyond that, it helps you build patience. And as I said, it is that, it unfolds your mind. There is a sense of peace as you go about it. And there is something very subtle about origami. Like it is not overtly loud. There is something extremely subtle, but it is, what to say, very tough. And it's all about folding. It also talks about vulnerability, the fact that um, only because the paper is vulnerable, you can fold it into various ways, and then it leads you to something so it is flexible, but it is firm. So all these facets are very fascinating, and I think children should be exposed to origami because it gives them opportunity to be creative. It gives them that time, that space of just doing one thing at a time and learning this simple art. Like from simple things, beautiful things turn up.
It works in every situation or some specific situations? What do you think?
Origami is especially good to bring in mindfulness for anyone and for all ages.
Very good.
In fact, in some of the hospitals in England, they teach this to the patients. And when they are hospitalized, they do these beautiful, colorful things. And their time in the hospital is spent in such a creative way that, it helps them to bounce back faster.
Wow. In India, I haven't listened, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a Japanese art and originated sometime in China, way back. But yes, in India, we don't practice so much of origami. I was very lucky, in fact, when in during my school days, I got these origami books as prize for maybe standing first in the class, and that was my first exposure to origami. So that was a
Wow.
book by Robert Harpin, and they were all diagrams. For quite a couple of years I didn't know what is to be done with it, till finally one day I just sat with some newspapers and I said, let me just go about it. And it was so fascinating. I spent such lovely hours doing that.
Brilliantly, you are in Jakarta.
Yes.
So how life is different as a coach, you can say, as a um, because you are in India, I think your entire life has been in India. So how different it
Yes,
is?
yes.
Sorry.
So I am in Jakarta for the last 2 years, and of which 1 year has been taken away by COVID, so I
Yes.
couldn't travel around much. But the first year that I came, what I found very fascinating about people here in Indonesia is um, they are very happy. They are very happy. They are listening. They are very willing to listen to you. They are very fun loving, and even in traffic, they are so patient. You will not have anyone honking behind. They'll just quietly wait for the signal to turn and go by. Traffic is worse than Mumbai in Jakarta, but despite that, people are very calm and very peaceful and very patient, and generally they are very fun loving and very nice to interact, very pleasant. And they are very proud of Indian culture. They know about Ramayana, they know about Mahabharata. So they say that is our culture. The religion could be anything else. So I find this very fascinating.
Wow. What is there anything that makes you awake at night?
Oh yeah, if I am harsh on anyone, that keeps me awake at night, because there is some kind of a guilt conscious, like, this is has been so right from my school days to my working career also, and even now. So if I'm harsh on anyone, um, maybe, I have to, because I had to at. So it's not that I question the appropriateness of my action, but it is just that, like, am I missing something? Have I looked at this with all possible angles, or have I jumped to conclusions and, passed on a judgment and scolded someone, or generally been harsh on anyone? So yeah, if whenever typically I'm harsh on anyone, that is something that keeps me awake at night. It troubles me a lot.
How you heal yourself that scenario?
It takes a while, but then, typically what I also do is, even if I'm harsh at that point in time, I immediately after some time go and reach out to that person and once again explain to him or her, saying, this was the problem and this was the issue. And as a
Very
result, this needed to be done. So I do that. So it is just that internal pangs, just to be sure that you have looked at the situation from all possible angles. So actually, the situation is over and done at that point in time. So there's nothing more to be done basically, but my internal
yes,
conviction that
yes, yes.
yes, indeed, like, I have. There is nothing that, and if there is some, and at times if something comes up, then oh, maybe it was from this perspective that this person was saying, and I was not able to understand at that point in time, then either I pick up the phone and talk to that person the next day, or if we are in the same office or environment, I just go and talk to them and say, hey, look, maybe was this what you were trying to say, which I was not understanding yesterday. So please help me understand. So I just take it up immediately then and there and, close it up. I don't keep it lying around.
Wow, it needs courage again.
Yeah, because otherwise I know it will be internally troubling me a lot.
They said it's holding a burning coal in your hand. You can say.
Absolutely.
Uh, so I think that's a part of winning mindset or winner's mindset. So what is your say on winner's mindset? Because we know a lot about winner's mindset. Winners keep on winning. They do things differently, things like that. What is your say on that? And how they keep winning and how they are different from others?
For me, um, if I would say a winning mindset for me is make sure that you don't hand over your sword to the enemy.
Wow.
Now, this comes more from my playing background. Like, I've been a lot into sports. I've been playing badminton and table tennis on
Mm,
state level.
okay.
And so it is like, don't get complacent. You,
Yes.
you feel as if you're just about to win and you kind of get complacent. So don't do that, because there could be many a slip between the cup and the lip. You are just about to take that sip, but a lot of things can happen in between. So
Yes.
being mindful of that and making sure that you leave no stone unturned to reach your goal. I think this is how I would go about it.
Yeah, 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 perfectly agree with it. Why an average person failed to adopt the winning mindset?
I think it is the self doubt. The self doubt has a big role, because if you keep doubting your own self, though you have conditions which are conducive around you, you really can't make them work to your advantage. So, you being fully committed and having full faith in yourself that this is what you are set to do, this is what you want to do. So, having that faith, having that belief is very important. And I think when that is missing, even if you have the best of the conducive environment around you, you may not end up being a winner.
And I think it's a process.
It's a process.
It's not a one-time step.
Yes, it's a constant process.
And for that, I think that person has to develop certain positive habits.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, do you think is it possible for a person who is depressed or having fears or underconfident to adopt this kind of winning mindset? And what do you think? How much time it takes normally to transform person for that scenario? I mean, from victim mindset to the winner's mindset.
Yeah. So I think the most important part is ability to be self-aware. You know, self-awareness plays a critical role. Once you have that sense of self-awareness, the next step is looking at that scenario from a third person perspective. So, your ability to detach yourself from that situation and look at it and see how you have been behaving. What is it that you have been? Because are we are the worst enemies of our own self, and it is we ourselves who pull ourselves down, no one else from outside.
Yes, yes.
So I think working on your own self is very important. So self awareness is the first step. So being aware about what exactly is happening, what kind of emotions come within you, what how do those emotions get manifested into your, maybe expression, maybe your body language. So first step is awareness. Second step is the ability to, be detached from that situation and have a third perspective view to it, and then go about the changes. So you said how it's possible. It's possible once you become aware, because until and unless that awareness doesn't set in, you are in the middle of everything, and you're sucked into everything, and it's just no way that you would be able to see what how are things outside. So it could differ, the journey, the length could differ from person to person. So there cannot be a standard set, but yes, the pathway would be something around like this.
And how the resources can help? I mean, books, the guidance, or the, I mean, mentor, coach. How the resources can help such a person to come out of that victim zone?
Yeah, I think being a very good observer is is critical. Observer of your own self and observer of people around you, because you learn a lot through these observations, and then you can kind of relate, incidents that are happening around you and the way people go about it. And if you can kind of relate those happenings to your own internal experiences, it gives you some ideas. As it says, let me try this out, this is what worked for someone X, let me try it out. So at least certain options start building within you. So
Very-
observation is important. Beyond that, yes, reading. I feel the more experiences you have, the more rounded a personality you become, rather than being focused on a particular thing. I think more interactions with people, putting yourself through various experiences, um, helps to become a rounded personality, and then you are able to relate to a lot of things, and that helps open a lot of options within you, and hence you can then try out, is this working for me, is that working for me. Beyond that, I think those basic tenets of patience, honesty, integrity, perseverance. So whatever of these could be the basic tenets are, you know help you build further on
Yes,
this.
yes, yes. So it's a journey, and they will have to move on one step at a time. I
Absolutely.
think that will help.
And you
Right.
learn as you travel.
Yes. May I know what your favorite book? Maybe there may be more than one, but if I ask you to name just one book, so which book will?
I think there are quite a number of books. One is Haiti by Johanna Spyri. Um, this is a book which I read, during my childhood days. I reread it during my college days, and even now sometimes I just pick it up and read. Then there is Silas Marner, so that is by George Eliot. But I think my most favorite book is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. And I think I've learned a lot. The grit, the courage, and the best part is like, you things may not work your way always. So you have to face a lot of failures, but that ability to pick yourself up every time. And when she says like, after all, tomorrow is another day, so you begin afresh again the next day. So I find that very inspiring.
Very good. Very good. I'm also a book lover. I read so many books, and of course there has been so many good books. But the power of now, I like so much about. And recently, maybe around few months back, I read a book, Siddharth.
Oh,
That's a very good book, and I suggest you, if you can find
Herman
out that.
Hesse, is that?
Yes, yes, Harmonies. It's a
I
very good
have it
book.
with me. It's in my to-do list.
That's a very good book, and to some extent it relates with me, and I think maybe it will relate with you. There is
Okay.
so much that, because we have left our career, we have
Yes.
left behind our thriving career just to do something that we love, and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what something is in that book. So I
Yeah.
think you will
Yeah.
love that book.
It's in my to-do to-do list.
Yes, yes.
Read list.
Coming to-do list, is there anything in your bucket list that is still awaiting, or there are so many things?
There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things, but I think what immediately comes to my mind is I want to see myself established as a person who is, making changes to people's lives in whatever way.
And how you energize yourself? I mean, what gives you strength?
I think, I am a very self-motivated person. Um, I normally find happiness in a lot of small things,
Very good.
and people interactions, kind of help me grow. So I look ahead to interact with people, to talk to people, and kind of charges me up.
So in the new country, in the new scenario, I think you must have found some friends there, and
Oh
those.
yes, oh yes, and I feel, people here are really very nice, and I feel sad that 1 year I really couldn't interact them in person. Yeah, we do Zoom meetings, and yes, that is how I know people. But yeah, I think I draw a lot of energy from people interactions.
Is there any kind of fear that is stopping you, that, as you mentioned, that I want to establish yourself? So what is stopping you? In fact, it may not be fear or something, or maybe something lacking. So what is there in between your now and your best version, as you mentioned, if you are
uh,
comfortable?
yeah, yeah. um, you know Sometimes I feel um, there has got to be a right time for everything. you know
Yes, I agree.
like how even hard you try at times, things work when things work at that point in time. So sometimes I think what comes in my way is a certain level of impatience within me, and maybe something like a self approval kind of a thing. Like, what has happened is, like, when you look back at typically what happens with all of us is, um, you look for approvals in a very objective way. Like, when you're working, typically you have maybe monthly targets, you have quarterly targets, or your progress is visible very objectively. But when you're out of the flow, like in a condition wherein I am now, initially I thought, what am I doing? So I went online and I did a couple of courses, got some certificates and all. And then I said, but what am I set to do? And So it's not that every time I have to keep on doing something, achieve and show my certificate, look, this is what I've got. And is that achievement? And then I kept on thinking about, because there was a degree of uneasiness within me, but I didn't know what it was till I hit upon it, wherein I kind of equated it to, the analogy that came to my mind was this, that during school days you have your academic semesters, and you have your exams, and then you have your vacation. And fortunately for us, when we were children, our vacations were not, kind of planned, and like, this course and that class and this, and in this vacation, I have to be good at one new language and etc. etc. We were just left free.
Great. Yeah.
Like you play, you go to your relatives' place, or you travel with your family. There were no certain achievements to be done in that particular, that's your free time. But you actually grew a big way during this free time. You learned to hold your fort when there are fights. You learned to make friendships. You understood what is patience. You learned to take failures. You learned to take success. So you learned a lot of these things during that time. And I think we should always look at these phases of life like this. Like, once you're out of the mainstream, you suddenly feel there's a lot of emptiness. So I think that's needed at that point in time. And that helps you grow in a different way. So I still take this, that this emptiness is also, helping me towards my goal in some way. So it will come when it's got to come. And I'm working towards it. So,
You've described it very well, because as you mentioned, I see nowadays student children, when they have vacation, they have so many things to do. There is a list. This thing has to be done. That thing that. So I think they fail to grow. In fact,
yeah,
with their innovativeness, their creativity, I think they are at loss,
they are
because
at
they
loss.
are doing things
They
that they
don't
are being told. Yes,
Yeah, they don't have that opportunity to be
yeah,
bored.
yes,
Because only when you're bored will maybe, something creative will spring up.
yes. And I think that is the reason, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, that is the reason that in India we don't have so many researches and things like that,
Yes.
because we have binded them with chains, you can say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even in the management colleges, as you are the alumni of an IIM, I don't know the scenario there, but I have seen that IITs and other engineering colleges. So I think the syllabus and the schedule is so tight that people don't
Yeah,
have time for creativity and innovations,
absolutely. Absolutely.
and that's not fair in my view, at least.
No, it's not fair. I wish, there is some place wherein these life skills are taught.
Yes.
I wish schools take up the subject of life skills. Like it will help everyone to cope up with these pressures so well. Like today, people are unable to cope up with these pressures because your mind has not been built to, to face these things. You don't know what is to be done. So if there is some way wherein, these life skills get taught to children, I think the entire society would, grow in a different way, and it would be a much better place. People will be more empathetic, will be more understanding, will be more patient.
And I think absence of that is the reason of so many depressions and suicides, or like even students of class 10th and 12th doing suicide.
Yeah.
So I think
So,
that's a horrific situation, because
yes,
they are not aware of life skills that you mentioned,
yeah.
and
And
nobody is
people
teaching
are
them.
getting, the younger generation is all into, devices. And they find comfort in devices because they have complete control over that device. But interacting with another human being, they're not prepared because they don't know what to expect, and they're not willing to take those changes. Here it is everything in control, that makes life easy, but this needs to change.
And what do you think? What should be the role of the parents?
I think they need to walk the talk. because if the scene is such that the parents themselves are onto these devices, then there is no way that the children. So I think consciously you have to have that me time in the day, wherein that time is away from all your devices, and it is just with you or just with the family, and wherein you actually talk to each other, have these exchanges, share your successes, share your failures, share your learnings, or just have a nice chat around anything on the face of this earth. I think that is something which needs to, like, people need to open up more. People, I think, are becoming more self-centered and more about, it's all about me. And if that reduces, I think that will help because then children will see their parents in a different light.
I observed that the bonding between family members is not, I mean, in most of the cases, that bonding is that not that much strong. And this is
Absolutely.
the reason even kids are not able to tell freely to their parents what are their problems.
Yes.
Because if they start doing that, the parent is busy in mobile or TV or whatsoever. So I think they don't have that trust, I think, belief on that
Absolutely,
they are
because
there.
I think as a family more activities need to be done together. And those activities could be absolutely anything. It could be cooking, it could be cleaning, it could be anything, it could be even watching television. But doing that together and having those discussions around whatever common that they're seeing, I think that is critical.
And what advice would you like to give to I mean, the students who are just entering that college level, you can say, so that they keep, I mean, the big picture in mind and take somewhat better decisions?
Yeah, I would generally say that don't take things for granted. Um, like we often forget to enjoy the present moment, but you need to learn to enjoy the now, and that is very critical. Secondly, you shouldn't I would advise that we should be less self-critical. We are, we criticize ourselves a lot. We are kind of painting ourselves black and blue, like every time a negative thought comes, chat chat. So I think we need to be more empathetic towards our own self. And yes, we need to strive towards a goal, and have that readiness to take on whatever it needs to take to be there. But be empathetic with your own self. Don't take things for granted. These are some of the things that I would want to leave people with, these thoughts.
As you mentioned, empathy or compassion, I think these words are very important. These practices are very important. And I found that I think most of the people, rather more than 90% people, don't do these things.
Yes,
They,
yes. Like, what is empathy? What is, like, the difference between sympathy and empathy? What does empathy mean? And first of all, you have to empathize with your own self. It is, like this, like when you're in the aeroplane and suppose the oxygen levels go low. So they say that the oxygen mask, first put it onto yourself and
yes,
then help your dependent ones, whoever is there. I think it's the same with empathy. You have to be empathetic to your own self. Only when you can empathize with your own self will you be able to empathize with others, because
that's
it's
right.
like you will be able to give out what you have. But if you don't have it, how will you give it out? And that could be replaced with love, understanding, empathy, all that.
As I mentioned that when I used to, nowadays I stopped reading newspapers. When I used to read newspapers, there has been so many negative news that suicides and something like that, and that hurt me a lot. So that, because if someone is empathetic or self-compassion, I think he will not even think of these things. So where one should start if someone is going through that phase, if someone is going through that phase. So how, from where one should start that thing? because it becomes very difficult to tell them and they
Hmm.
are not ready to share. But if I come to know that that person is suffering from that, so how we can, I mean, teach them or guide them for how this is proceed. What
So,
do you think?
yeah, I think the first important part that comes is your ability to express, because as we, talked some time back, sharing and people connect has become very less. As a result, we don't easily open up to people. We don't easily share. We don't, the generation doesn't know what is to trust anyone. So I think it needs to begin from there, the ability to open up, the ability to build connections. Because when you have those connections, will you would have someone to open up to. And then this feeling that, I'm not alone. There are many other people who would be going through similar experiences. So if I share it with them, maybe they would tell me some ways that they manage to cope up with, and I would be able to learn from there. So I think choosing the company around you, choosing people who are more positive, who are more energetic, because that rubs onto you. So it's very important. A man is known by the company he keeps. So it's very important to be in the right circles, move around with people who are, maybe honest, who are doing things in a positive way, or who are generally high on energy. I think being surrounded with these people, building those people connects, so that you can open up with people, share your experiences, and not get that feeling of, I'm alone in this world, because that is a very debilitating feeling.
I think they feel that, I think, shame, or they fear that I will be judged.
Yes, yes, very true. That feeling of being judged is very high, and we are so quick in passing judgments. So a lot has to change.
Yes, I think the society has to think twice before judging persons, I think, and that
Absolutely.
can help in the scenario. So, sorry, uh, as you mentioned that you are going to be establish yourself in that kind of shape. So, what do you think? And the impact you are making on your coaches now, and the
Hmm.
impact you will be making in that scenario, how different it would be, or there will not be any difference?
I think there will definitely be difference, because as I am on this journey, I'm also learning, and these experiences will also make me a better coach. And typically they say, like, you coach people the way you are.
Yes.
So I think the first step is getting better on your own self, like being a better person. That would automatically reflect in your coaching style. And after all, if you can bring that transformation which is sustainable. So maybe, presently, during the coaching sessions, maybe the coaching session ends at wherein the person comes up with some action points and saying, hey, look, I'm going to do this. But maybe as I go ahead, I would want them to kind of demonstrate to me how they are going to do it. So, I'm kind of, maybe it would be a more solidified approach. It would be a more complete way of approach. So as I get better and better, I think that is the change that will set in.
Very good. While doing PK coaching, we were in a same part. We were the accountability part, you can say. So, do you think in simple coaching, or I mean, when we are practicing with our coaches, so in that scenario also, that making that accountability group or some practice partner, buddy partner, will that help?
I think so, because even as a coach, um, you need someone as a go-to person, or you need a group of wherein you come together over whatever period of time, share your experiences, share your learnings, because with that, we'll help each other grow. So I think it's very important that even we as coaches keep grouping together in some ways to share experiences, learn together, share something which you came up across, which you found very fascinating, or some new technique, or so on. So I think it helps you to keep up, keep abreast with what is happening around.
From your journey, you mentioned that you already qualified ACC and now you are attempting to qualify the PCC. So how it differs from that?
I think when you are an ACC, it is more of a transactional change, that happens. There is something like, whereas when as you go ahead in your coaching journey, there is something like a transformational change. So it is a deeper change. It is a change in the being of the person, which you can influence
Very good.
or help the coachee to discover.
If someone want to reach you, from where they should contact you? Can you please share your, if you agree that your, social media or wherever you want people to reach you?
Sure. Presently, I am not so very active on social media, but
Okay.
yes, I am on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So these are the best places to reach me.
Okay. So people are approaching you through these mediums.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Very good. So you are also coaching people in India or no? Not nowadays.
I am
Okay.
coaching people in India as well as here in Jakarta.
Very good. So what is your target group in India?
Well, the target group is absolutely diverse. Um, there has been one college student. Most of them, of course, has been corporate, but there has been some senior age groups as well.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, so it's been pretty diverse.
So it doesn't matter. In fact,
Yeah,
whether a corporate or that even a student or some senior citizen or entrepreneur or something, it doesn't matter.
right.
Very good. Very good. Because I think that behavioral change or that mindfulness, everyone needs these things.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Beena, for joining us and uh, sharing your wisdom, your experiences. Thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I think audience must have learned a lot. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you so much for having me here and giving me this opportunity to be here and share whatever little that I know of. Thank you
You
so
know a
much.
lot. I think we will be, I think, meeting again maybe next few months or a year or so.
Sure, sure.
Thank you. See you.
Definitely. I look forward to be here.
Thank you.